Yes, I am. And I haven't talked about that, so let's talk about it. From 2009 to 2012, I spent 3 years in a psych ward. When I wasn't in the psych ward, I was in jail. My whole life, I always spent being called that weird guy, the one that's got something wrong with them, the one that's got all these issues. And I had a lot of delusions, a lot of random crazy things that I would do and say back then. And what ultimately led me to being disabled was me trying to do that so many times and it working. After the fifth time of doing that and waking up in the psych ward, they decided to keep me in there for about 6 months. And that's where I got my diagnosis. Sooner than later, I realized that, yeah, I do have this problem and I need to be medicated. Me, being diagnosed as schizophrenic, and being a dad, I thought my whole life was going to go away. That I wasn't going to know how to live it anymore. I was put on a lot of medications back then. I'm still on medications. Back when I was first diagnosed, I was dangerous. I was terrible, bad, in every possible way. When I started taking my medication, it helped my thoughts and the ways that I think and the noise in my head slow down. And I'm not proud to admit that. When people hear schizophrenia, they think the worst things possible. And it made my life hard to live because I thought that all those things were right for a long time. When I started to take my medicine, do research, and go to therapy and talk about the things that I had going on that made that diagnosis true, it made it easier to live with. And I still have problems, memory loss, I repeat myself a lot. Sometimes the noise in my head does drown out the other good things I have going on. When somebody asks me what's it like to live with schizophrenia, and when I'm not medicated, it's like somebody else is driving the wheel and I'm just a passenger that can't do anything. I had to prove myself to the state, CPS, all kinds of different ways to make it so that I could stay being a dad, because with that diagnosis and being disabled and having seizures, other issues too on top of it, I had to go through a battle. That battle took 8 months. Through that battle, I had learned a lot about myself and knowing what I could and couldn't do, because I am dad and I'm all my kid has. My diagnosis isn't the easiest to live with, and even more so when I'm not medicated. For the people that keep attacking me for saying that I'm not disabled enough for this or that, I didn't ask for this. It's something that I've had my whole life. When I became adult, that is when they diagnosed me. My point in saying all this is that just because we have a mental illness, disability, or diagnosis of something bad, that doesn't mean that we're not capable of living our lives in a normal way. Yeah, it might be a little bit harder, but if I can make my life different with that diagnosis and keep trying to change it, so can anybody else. It's not easy, but when you do it, it's worth it. I won't let that noise in my head that made it so that I couldn't live my life a normal way win again. A lot of times I failed at that, but I know myself enough now to know the things that I need to do to keep that at bay, because that noise in my head, sometimes it does win, and I'm sorry that you guys see that. Being disabled hasn't been an easy thing as an adult. Trying to relearn to live my life, even in going into recovery, because the reason that I would use was to drown that noise out. Now I don't do that, and I live with it. I'm proud of who I've become, and now I work in the mental health field to where I'm going to be able to help people. If that doesn't show me that anybody else that they're capable of more, I don't know what does. This wasn't easy to talk about if you can't tell.